State Oil Company is one of the most important producers of oil and gas in the world. Its name is Pemex, and it provides the Mexican government with about a third of its annual revenue. Although it just celebrated its 75th birthday, the future of Pemex is far from bright. Oil production is on the slide, and a chronic lack of money has meant its investments in new technology have been limited. That might mean opening up the market to private companies who would partner with Pemex on its more technologically challenging projects. But for many Mexicans, when it comes to the nation's oil, private is a dirty word. John Holman reports on how Pemex is digging deeper than ever to find solutions for the way ahead.
A short helicopter ride away from Mexico's Gulf Coast lies this country's greatest treasure. Beneath these waters lie the huge reserves of oil and gas which help sustain Mexico's economy and are an integral part of national pride. All of this natural wealth is under the control of state oil company Pemex. It's one of the world's top 10 oil and gas producers. We're heading to one of a new generation of wells being drilled by Mexican state oil company Pemex. It uses deep water technology to get to harder to reach oil. And Mexico is hoping that this new type of well could help guarantee the future of oil production in the country. Centenario is one of Mexico's most advanced oil rigs and part of the company's bid to increase its flatlining production. The fields that have served this country for years, where oil is close to the surface and easy to extract, are fast running out. Now, to find oil and gas in Mexico, you have to drill down further than ever. Engineers on the Centenario have burrowed over 5,700 meters down to check if what's under the ocean floor can be produced commercially. But Pemex has only a handful of rigs with this capability. Below us are potentially huge reserves of natural gas, but there's no certainty that Pemex will be able to extract them for commercial use. Time and technology have moved on since the company was formed 75 years ago, and Pemex has struggled to keep up. Changing Pemex from an outdated dinosaur to a modern oil giant has become a national concern. It's moved to the top of President Enrique Peña Nieto's agenda.
We are committed to a complete transformation of Pemex.
That's easier said than done. We went to Pemex headquarters to talk to its director of production and exploration. Carlos Morales has been in the company for more than 30 years. He remembers the years of plenty, but he admits those days are largely gone. Do you have the technology that you need at the moment to extract the oil that's lying deeper under the ground?
Yeah, the technology is an issue that can be, let's say, either find in the market or develop.
Do you have the money to get it?
The money is the issue. The money is the issue. The question is how fast I want to extract those resources.
Money is the issue. Despite having the monopoly on oil and gas production in Mexico for years, the company has failed to reinvest enough of that money in the business. As a result, it lacks the technology and know-how to fully exploit its deep water reserves. Pemex officials have warned that the company could end up as a net importer of oil by 2020. It's a far cry from the nationalist euphoria that surrounded the company's creation. In 1938, President Lázaro Cárdenas cleared out the mainly US and British firms who had control over Mexican oil. He declared it national property and created Pemex to administer it. In the coming years, black gold financed the nation. The money taxed from Pemex became an indispensable part of the Mexican government's budget. With the years, the company has become an institution, and the number of employees checking into Pemex towers has swollen.
Pemex has approximately 154,000 workers. Shell has less workers worldwide. I mean, basically, Pemex is one big Salvation Army.
Oil expert Miriam Grunstein has been watching the Mexican energy situation for years and has written books on Pemex.
A lot of people are just sitting there. They're not being productive. They have hereditary positions, and for example, in the docks, you see many young Pemex workers doing nothing, but the incentives provided by the company, if you want to call it that, are just to hang loose.
We need to understand that
Pemex is not just guilty of inefficiency, but downright corruption, according to Fernando Cerrate. He's a congressman for the opposition PRD party.
we think that corruption is inside of Pemex is bringing a lot of, we're losing a lot of money in that. A lot of hidden contracts with private companies and, collusion of interest.
From Congress to the streets, everyone is talking about Pemex. No other institution could polarize the nation more.
Con tanta gente bonita, petróleo trabaja unido.
The president needs to kick out corruption and have a transparent Pemex.
The people at Pemex are thieves. The bosses leave the company rich.
We return to Pemex headquarters to take those concerns to Carlos Morales. And we've been talking to congressmen, to oil analysts, to a lot of members of the public here in Mexico. There seems to be one thing that they all agree on, that Pemex is a company where corruption is present. How do you respond to that?
That's not a general condition. I think that is something that should be, let's say, put in the proper balance, without neglecting the fact that processes and transparency, there is a lot of opportunities to increase those levels.
The Director General said earlier this year that he found a lot of corruption in Pemex when he came in.
It's not a generalized, but I mean, we have to be able to identify it and to attack it.
Are jobs handed down through families in Pemex?
No, not that I know. Not that I know. It's not exactly like that. I think it's for instance, I don't have anyone of my family working here. We have a very strong process of recruiting, selecting, developing, and assigning people to the projects.
But if Pemex isn't functioning as it should, that spells huge problems for Mexico. The company is the mainstay of the government's income.
Pemex provides a big chunk of the fiscal revenues of Mexico. Let's say somewhere between 30 and 40% of the national fiscal revenues. These fiscal revenues feed into the national budget, which go into Pemex's budget. But it is important to note that Pemex doesn't get back what it provides, but only a small portion of what it already provided. This impedes Pemex from making substantial investments in operational capabilities and technology.
The vicious circle is proving a big handicap for Pemex as it struggles to stay competitive with the rest of the oil world. And it's not just the Mexican treasury that's siphoning off Pemex's profits. Since Mexico's criminal groups have grown in size and power, they've looked to diversify from their usual markets. The country's oil pipes have made a tempting target. Pemex is losing about $1.5 million worth of oil and gas every day from its pipes and installations. It's being stolen, principally by the powerful Zetas gang and often in collusion with Pemex's own employees. Mexico's armed forces have been deployed to guard Pemex's pipe network, but sophisticated oil stealing operations are still leaching 20% more of the precious resource every year. It all adds up to a less than impressive report card, a situation compounded by numerous accidents. The latest, a January explosion in Pemex headquarters, killed 37 people. 3/4 of a century after the company was created, it faces a pivotal moment in its destiny. Controlling its own budget is top of the list. If the company weren't taxed for 1/3 of the Mexican government's income, it would have more spare cash to invest in new technology. Pemex also wants to follow in the footsteps of fellow Latin American state oil companies in Colombia and Brazil, all of whom have benefited from partnering with private companies.
We want to reduce financial risk. And if we want to reduce the risk exposure that we have in a given project, we should be able to select partners, and we should be able to partner with other companies.
Well, we're talking about profit sharing with private companies here.
From our point of view, yes.
And that's a sticking point. For many Mexicans, the first rule of oil is that it belongs to the nation. It's a sentiment enshrined in the Mexican Constitution. At the moment, Pemex can only hire private contractors to carry out work for a fixed fee. To change that, the government would need a majority in the Mexican houses of Congress.
That's one of the...
And its leftist opponents are determined to prevent that.
The Mexican constitutional principles shouldn't be changed. PRD thinks that we need to convert the company, the enterprise, in a more profitable one, in a more efficient one, which means that we should allow foreign investment, but not necessarily profit sharing. The oil and gas belongs to Mexicans.
The stage is set for political wrangling of mammoth proportions. But whatever decisions are made on Pemex's future will reverberate far beyond the top floors of Pemex towers and the upper echelons of Mexican politics to the tens of millions of Mexicans for whom the country's oil is their natural heritage.